So excited to have you guys here. Welcome to The Bloom. The Bloom is a video chat between me and my friend Kelly,
Hi.
where we just get very vulnerable and real about goal setting and the process of walking out what matters most and learning to let everything else rest. So we're so glad you guys are here. We hope that you'll join us in the chat and chat along with us because we want this to feel like a fun, casual environment where we're just hanging out, doing what matters most together.
This is super fun. I got my coffee and everything, Tori. I got a new coffee mug.
Oh my
It's
gosh,
kind of fun,
I
right?
love it.
Hey, Abigail. It's not exactly like cultivate flowers, but it is kind of like fun flowers. So I got my coffee. I'm ready. I'm super excited for our topic today.
Yeah,
Hi,
me
Katie. Happy
too.
Thursday.
I'm loving this topic in February about the power of presence, and it's really making me be more intentional with my time outside of the bloom as I'm thinking about how powerful presence and intentionality really is.
Me too, Tori. I was thinking about that. It's all the research that we've been doing for these episodes has really convicted me about how actually not present I am sometimes.
Yeah,
Because it sort of takes a level of awareness
it does.
to realize that you're not being present in areas that matter to you. Um, yeah, so I think that's been my biggest takeaway is just that I think that it's not natural for us in our society to be present because we've sort of overcommitted ourselves to the point where we don't have to be present, I guess. We're always kind of running to the next thing, um,
Mhm.
or running to our phones. Like we're gonna talk about a little bit of that today, probably, I imagine. But yeah, it's convicted me about how sometimes I'm not even present in my day-to-day life in the name of good things. Like, have you
Oh,
noticed how you kind of will I don't know, I feel like this is more common with when we were younger ladies, when we were in college, people would say like, "Oh, when are you getting married?" And then you get married and they're like, "Oh, fun. When are you gonna have a baby?" And then when you have babies, they're like, "Oh, before you know it, they'll be they like people try to rush you along. And those are all in the name of good things. And I feel like I was doing that with my goals. I was kind of looking at my goals thinking, but these goals are good, but today is really, really good. And it's cool to look ahead
ooh.
and like be excited for good things that are to come. But a lot of times I'm not present in the moment in the name of good things. It's not always bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it is bad. I
Wow.
feel like I'm not making sense. It is
No, you
not good to not be
are.
present, but it can also,
Yeah, because it can be really difficult to be like wanting something that's in the future
yeah.
and not be so aware of what you already have right now, which is something we'll talk about, just being grateful for what you've got. But I think that that happens really frequently. Um, just like you said, in the name of good things, like you're looking ahead to good things. You're not necessarily wasting your time per se,
Yeah.
but you're forgetting that good things are happening right now.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we maybe, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people probably struggle with this being present in the moment and actually holding on to the good things that you have, or even Tori, maybe even the bad things. I feel like we have
Mhm.
an escapist culture. Do you feel like that?
Oh, yes, I was just thinking that. I think one of the biggest things that holds us back from being present is escaping. It's so
Yeah.
easy. It's so much easier to think ahead or think about something else instead of addressing what really needs to be addressed in the moment. And a lot of times we can't find that peace that we're all seeking until we get really present with ourselves and with what's going on and address, whatever it may be, hurt or fear, whatever it is that we're trying to escape from.
Yeah, it's very true. Hey, Lissa, we're glad you're here. It's good to see you. Haven't
Hi,
seen you in a while.
friends.
Um, Tori, so one of my favorite books, and I feel like I beat this book to death talking about it, but I just love it so much. It's called The Voice of the Heart. Have you heard of it?
No, I've
I think
heard
I
you
may have
talk
told you.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. But it seems like my conversations sort of always come back to it because it basically talks about how God's gift to us is our emotions, both good and bad. Um, and how we have sort of overcomplicated emotions because we feel like we have to like overdefine and name everything. He talks about how people say things like "I feel frustrated," but frustrated is not really an emotion, it's a state of mind.
Mhm.
Your mind is frustrated. You may feel angry, or you may feel hurt, or you may feel sad, but he said that all these emotions can actually be boiled down to 8 different ones. Some good, some bad, good, bad. Technically, they're all good because 'cause they're gifts from God, but what he says, and I find this very interesting, and it's matched up with some of the other things that I've read. He said that all emotions, no matter if they are, um, like fear or anger, which we consider to be bad, or if they're good, like joy and that kind of thing, good, they're all interlaced with sadness. Every
Mm.
single emotion has sadness in it. Like, think about, like, someone graduating from college, joy, gladness, right? But the undercurrent is change is coming and you're not a
Mhm.
little baby anymore. And so it's got a thread of sadness to it. And that's why he said that people avoid their emotions because even the good ones can have an undercurrent of sadness. And so sometimes we avoid bad emotions. That's like the common thing, like, oh, you're just avoiding feeling sad. You're going to shop on Amazon or whatever. But in reality, we actually avoid our good emotions because they can have an undercurrent of sadness. And I just found that really fascinating.
Wow, that is.
Yeah, we tend to avoid all of our emotions, and that emotions are truly what we feel in the present tense. I don't know. I thought
Mhm.
that was fascinating.
It is fascinating. Yeah, it's almost as if we unplug from life to kind of numb
Yeah.
whatever it is that we're feeling, which I know I'm guilty of that.
Oh yeah, me too. Because the alternative is like kind of uncomfortable in our society. Do you have
It
any friends
is.
that you would label as piercing?
Yes.
So do I. And they like really get intense with you, they're intense, right? And I find that a little bit uncomfortable, but also I have a friend that's really, really good about this. It's also she's like one of my closest friends, one of my deepest friends, and as I get older, I begin to admire that, like, piercing part of her personality that's just, like, really intense, but that's not normal in our society.
No, it's not. I feel like we lay down all of these things that are really good. Like being present is very good. I don't think any of us are going to say, well, I don't want to be more present.
Mhm.
But I feel like we lay it down, in pursuit of feeling normal or feeling
Yeah.
like we fit in. Because I do think that it's very countercultural to be really present in your life, to put away the distractions and to
Mhm.
be in the moment. I'll tell a little story here. So when I used to have a really big online presence and I did retreats and I did like coaching and all kinds of things. And I remember constantly in the back of my mind was this would make a good thing to post. This would be something good to write about. This would be so
Interesting.
even when I was in the moment, I wasn't because I was thinking about how I could use those things to further my online presence. And it's not that what I was doing wasn't good, but it was very unhealthy because I was never just allowing a moment just to be a moment, allowing it to
Wow.
just be a memory that I was making. Everything had to be documented or photographed, and so that I could create something from it. And a lot of things lost their glimmer because they became something that they weren't meant to be.
Interesting. It's almost as if that beautiful moment or that beautiful thing became a way, like, to serve your I don't wanna sound this sounds ugly, but to, like, to serve your goal,
Yeah.
or it became a way to, like, fill a need that you were planning for the future.
Hmm.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting. I feel like that is very, very common. I mean, just in our social media society where everything becomes a post.
Yeah, even when I was feeling sad, it was, "Okay, well, how can I write about this? How can I" which is not inherently a bad thing, I wanna say that, like,
Yeah, no.
capturing memories, writing, sharing, those are not inherently bad
Mhm.
things. What became unhealthy for me was that I never just had a moment where I was just allowing myself to feel for the sake of feeling or allowing myself to experience for the sake of experiencing. It always had like an ulterior motive almost. And
Mm,
so, like, even in my sadness, I wasn't allowing myself to just sit with sadness and let God teach me in that moment. It was, okay, well, what is this? How can I it was just this constant mind
Yeah.
spinning, and I wasn't being still, and I think that stillness and presence a lot of times go hand in hand.
I completely agree. I think that's really, really a good point. Um, you post much less now because you desire to eliminate that feeling. Yeah, I know. I think a lot of
Mhm,
us are feeling that way. I
mhm.
really think that's a common feeling. Wish I could do like a crowdsource of
A
women
pull.
everywhere. Like, how do you feel about social media? Like, what are you sensing? Um,
And
that's
we've
such a good,
talked about it. Social
yeah.
media can be really good, but I
Mhm.
think it's very easy to let it become unhealthy. It's got an
Yes,
addictive quality.
I totally agree with you too. I think it really, really does truly rob us of our joy in the moment because we we compare ourselves.
Mhm.
There's a name. Okay, I wish I could remember this name. I'm gonna remember it after we get off of here and really, really regret not writing it down. Tori, have you heard of that psychological principle where our mind puts all these different pieces that we see on the internet together into one person? Have you heard of this?
No, but I've read studies about how the brain does that with other things.
Yeah, there's like a name for it. Basically, this like okay,
Interesting.
basically like someone could hear us talking about using our power sheets, and then they can go on Instagram and they can scroll through and they can see Kate from Naptime Kitchen. She made these really cute little peanut butter Valentine's Day hearts. So she's cooking in her kitchen. We're talking about power sheets. She's cooking in her kitchen. The next person, our founder Laura Casey, she's doing a garden. She's making a garden. So they scroll and they see her garden, and in their mind, they put all these things together. It's kind of like one person is doing the power sheets, is cooking the peanut butter, is doing the garden, and they feel like I'm not doing anything. This person has all these things going, and I don't have any of that. So our brains
Wow.
literally make one person out of what we see on the internet. And
That makes so much sense.
it's crazy, right? And it literally prevents us from being present in like our oneness and our one thing that we're doing at that one moment because our mind is telling us like this isn't enough. Somebody else is doing all these other things. When really, you know, maybe
They're
nap
not
time
most of the
yeah,
time.
maybe nap time kitchen Kate. She's our friend by the way, so I don't feel weird saying that like nap time kitchen Kate is making peanut butter things. Like, okay, she is making that one thing. That's her one thing that she's doing today. Maybe she read a book. Maybe she took her kids to the park. Maybe her house is a mess. I don't know. But she didn't, I mean, she did one thing, you
Yeah.
know? And she posted that one thing on the internet, but it doesn't mean she's doing it all the time. And I feel like we all just need to get a big pulse check on like what does presence really mean? And like how does understanding our understanding of presence affect how we engage in it?
Yeah.
You and I were teachers, so you probably I don't know if in your state they were really, really big on metacognition. Did you have to teach your okay, yeah. Thinking about your thinking.
Mhm.
Sounds crazy, right? I mean, but I feel like we need to think about our thoughts when it comes to
Yeah.
presence. What do we perceive about how other people show up in their life? What do we perceive about how we show up in our life? I feel like a lot of savoring everyday moments has to do with your perception of yourself.
1,000,000%. A
I
million
don't know.
percent. Because, like, I don't know, so much of being present is your mind,
Yeah.
that literally is what we're trying to accomplish, is to get our mind to be connected with the moment that we're in, but I think we're so trained as a society to be thinking in so many different directions that it's almost, I don't wanna say impossible, but it's very difficult to tell our mind, like, "This is
It
this is
is.
where you're at right now."
It is. And you said it's hard to sit with sadness, I think is what you said.
Mhm.
Tori, what does sitting with sadness look like for you?
For me, so I've learned to allow myself to just be, like, which is really, really hard because I feel like a lot of times when we have these harder emotions, sadness, anger, frustration, whatever they might be, we wanna get them, like, we wanna solve them. But a lot of times there's not
Mhm,
really anything that needs to be solved. It's a feeling that we're
mhm.
meant to experience. And so I will allow myself now, this has taken a lot of work. This is not something that comes easily to me at all. But when I'm feeling sad, I'll allow myself to just sit and think about
Mm.
the sadness? You know, where's it coming from? How does it feel? And a lot of this is teaching. A lot of this comes from like conscious discipline, but being
Yeah.
aware of like how's my body responding to this? How what are the thoughts that I have about feeling sad right now? And do I have shouldn't thoughts like, you know, I shouldn't be sad or I shouldn't feel angry,
Yeah.
and just allowing a little bit of honesty because I we're often not even honest with ourselves about what's really happening within us.
That is such a good point. I love how you said that word solving. So, there's a girl that used to work on Team Cultivate named Abby. Some of you may remember her. She and I are really good friends, and, maybe a year or so ago, I was talking to her about some things that were going on in my family, and she said, "You need to have a moment with yourself where you ask yourself, 'Am I soothing this or am I solving this?' Neither one is bad." But
Mhm.
soothing versus solving is a really important question to ask yourself, and what you're talking about, I think, is almost like a soothing when you're asking yourself questions about these emotions, you're almost soothing them, and I'm really bad at this because like you said, I wanna solve it. If I and that's where, like, losing your presence comes from. You go to your phone to
Mhm.
solve the problem
Yes.
of your feelings. That is
Yep.
a type of solving the problem. But what you're talking about is soothing the problem. When you talk about sitting with your feelings and asking yourself those questions, where did this sadness come from? How is my body responding to these feelings? That's soothing the problem because you're processing the thing that gave you the feeling,
Mhm.
which is so, so, so hard to do. I struggle with that. I'm one of those people who feels my feelings after the fact.
Mm.
I don't know how to fix that really, honestly. I can't even really speak on that because I haven't figured out the solution, but it's very hard for me to identify my feelings in the moment. It takes me a little while to process it. Are you like
That's
that or
okay.
do you?
No, I'm a feeler.
Okay.
I like I feel I used to fault myself for it. Like I feel
Okay.
very quickly and very heavily. And so like if I'm feeling joy, I feel it in like I'm feeling it in the moment. I'm very happy. Or
That's
I
awesome.
don't
Thanks,
know,
Abby.
like I have a really hard time on the opposite end of like being I don't want to say stoic, but being more like thoughtful around
Mm,
my feelings. Like I feel them.
you feel them.
Yeah.
Katie says, Same. My life coach has been working with me to slow down and examine my feelings more in the moment." I'm interested in that, Katie. Like, I don't know if you want to send me like a private message or you can write it here for everyone to see if you feel comfortable with that. But I'm very interested in that. Tori, I admire that you're able to feel your feelings in the moment. And I have noticed that about you. I feel like I always know when something's not right or when something's bothering you or something's on your mind because you are really good about talking about it in the moment. And what I really like about that is that the moment passes pretty quickly. Like, you
Mhm.
can be upset, you work through it, and then you're like, "Okay, I'm better. Now I have joy."
Yeah.
And that is not true for me. And I really admire that about you. So I will be in the moment. I have this, like, almost like a programmed response to things. Where I'll be like, "This is great. I'm fine. Everything's good." And I see all these positive things. And then when I step away and I have time to think and process, I can feel like, "Oh, I really feel sad about that," or
Mhm.
I wish that I would have communicated this feeling. The problem is that I don't know I'm feeling it in the
Mm.
moment. So,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
Katie, I'm also seeing a counselor. We're kind of working on some of these things, but it's not really working. So I'm curious to see how it's going for you. But one thing that I've struggled with in that sense, Tori, is that I feel like sometimes I often have to come back to someone and be like, "Hey, remember we were talking about this? I had this other thought or I had this other feeling,"
Mhm.
and I have to kind of amend uh things sometimes, or like in order to express myself,
Yeah.
fully, and so you were talking about how, like, well, I don't really think that relates, but basically, I just was gonna say I really admire that about you because I feel like yeah, I'm kind of getting off track. Let me finish my first thought about my counselor. She was saying I have so many thoughts. She was saying that, it can be seen as a form of, like, dishonesty with with others as well because they could think, "Oh, I thought everything was fine." And now you're coming
Mm.
back and you're telling me it's not fine. So, what my counselor told me to do, same thing kind of like you, Kate, but I just have to actually put it in play, is to not express feelings at all up front. But I'm Southern, Tori, so are you. It's hard to not be like
There's
happy.
literally a word for it. Like in the South, they save face.
Yes,
There's a
yes,
lot of cultures that do this where it's called save face, like you said. This is great. I love
yeah,
this
yeah,
idea. So, what's my Enneagram? I would love for you to
guess.
guess what my Enneagram is.
I bet
Uh,
Lisa gets it right.
I bet she does.
Lisa, I
Okay,
want you to tell
so
me what you think my Enneagram is too, by the way. I bet you're very good at analyzing information.
she
Um,
is. I
yeah,
admire that about you, Lissa.
I do too. That
Okay, Kelly.
I love that you
Oh,
said I wanna piggyback off this real quick. I love that you said
mhm.
save face, like, you said safe face or save face?
Save face.
Yeah, yeah, it is about
Mhm,
saving face, and I
mhm.
think so my counselor told me that Southern women have the trifecta. Have you heard of this? The trifecta of in it's called
I
the
don't know.
trifecta of indecision.
Ooh.
Female,
Mhm.
Southern, Christian.
Mm.
She said that these 3 characteristics often make it very difficult for you to share your actual feelings in the moment.
Oh, I can
And I
see
was
that.
like, yeah, I've worked with some, like, New York men. I used to have a principal that was, like, a New York man, not a Christian, and
Oh, interesting.
interesting. We'll share in a minute. Um, um, so he was like, "What are you doing? This is crazy." "La, la, la," and you would be like,
Uh-huh,
and
that's
then,
how I
like, the
felt
next
the
day he'd be
entire
like,
time I lived
"Hey,
in New
how are you?"
York.
What?
That's how I felt the entire time I lived in New York. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Everyone hates me."
Yes, yes. But I learned to love that person,
Yeah.
especially in a work environment because I always knew where I stood. There was never any questions. Um, oh, that's a good question. Zodiac sign and attachment style. I don't know any of that stuff,
I don't know.
but I'd be curious. So yeah, I learned to love people like that, and I try to emulate it, but then I feel bad when I, like, share my feelings in the moment. That this is all I'm gonna work all this out in counseling. I can't speak on it because I don't have it
Isn't
solved.
it isn't it wild? Like, I'm gonna say this and then I think let's pull back to present, but
Yeah.
isn't it wild? Like, I admire and appreciate people who can just say what they're feeling. So I will
Yeah,
say
they're
that I
present.
am not very good at saying, like, what I'm feeling because I don't wanna upset. I want everybody to feel validated, and so but I'm good at feeling my feelings.
Yeah,
But I'm not very good at, like, saying it? I don't know, but I admire people
me too.
who I know exactly how they're feeling. I know exactly where their mind's at, exactly what their opinion is, because then I don't have to feel like, "Are you upset with me?" Like, like, I don't feel like I need
Yeah,
to try to
yeah,
fix things, and so I wish that I
yeah,
could be more like that. Like you were saying, like, I admire that trait in people, but it's definitely something that I need to work on. All right, Kelly. So
Hang on,
tell
I'm getting
me.
into the
Oh,
spammer,
yep.
just hold on.
My attachment style. I've read about this, about attachment style, and I've tried to figure out what mine is, and I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either, I can figure mine out either. But I
Yeah.
think that we're kinda, like, talking about, being present in the moment. So, like, expressing your
Yeah.
feelings presently in the moment,
Yeah.
um, is good. Let's talk about how to, though. Let's
Yeah.
get to it. Yeah.
Tell me.
You go first.
Okay, so I was actually reading this study, Kelly. So you guys excuse me because I'm going to look over for just a minute to kind of um, look at what I wrote down. But I was reading this study and it was really interesting to me. They were talking about people, um, like how what really is at play with people who are present and say that they live a meaningful life. And this study showed that people who are present and enjoy the moment and appreciate the small things tend to say that they feel like they lead a meaningful life. So they did this study where they were actually showing people like images of beautiful pictures of mountains and like soft music, and those people felt more meaningful. They felt like their conversations after that were more meaningful than people who they showed an instructional how-to video. And it was really
Oh,
interesting to me
interesting.
because I feel like that's the key, is that we slow down and we appreciate what is happening around us instead of thinking
Yeah.
towards like what they were saying about this how-to video is they were thinking about the end product while they were watching this video instead of looking at the imagery and listening to the sounds, which is what the people who were seeing the mountain pictures were doing. So they felt
Wow.
like their time was more meaningful than the
Mhm.
people who learned how to do something. Very interesting.
It makes a case for beauty as well. Sometimes we
Yes.
rush through things, and we don't appreciate we don't spend time to make things intentionally beautiful,
Mhm.
or yeah, we always try to get to the purpose of the
Yeah.
thing, and it can't just ever be, like, beautiful. It
Mhm.
makes a case for beauty as well, just looking at the mountains, drinking a cup of coffee on your back porch, just taking in those things, while
Well,
they're
when we
not, like
talk
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say while they're not productive,
Yeah.
it is
Well, and we
producing something in you. It's producing joy.
joy,
Yeah.
yeah, and appreciation and gratitude.
Yeah,
Like, that, I feel like for me, is what recenters me to being present, is expressing gratitude. And when we
I
talk to
totally agree.
cultivators, like, if you look at people's tending lists when they share them with us and you look at their goals that they share, almost everybody has something about, like, making life more meaningful,
Yes,
appreciating the small moments,
yes,
feeling
yes,
joy. Because honestly, at the end of life, no one ever talks about wanting to have done more. They talk about them wanting to have experienced or loved
mhm.
or communicated more. Those small moments, that's what really makes up life.
I love that you brought up gratitude. Yeah, I think that's super, super important. And we talk about the small moments. That is a super huge, great tip. It's just to do more things that you enjoy. But this is hard for people, Tori. The page
Mhm.
and power sheets where you have to write down what lights you up, what brings you joy. Every year during prep week, when we get to that day that we're filling out what brings people joy, there are always I'm gonna say no less than 5 posts in our Facebook group. What brings you joy? I'm stuck.
Mhm.
It's amazing to me the number of people, women especially, who can't even name
Yeah.
something that brings them joy.
What
But
do you
doing
do to find what brings you joy?
what do I do?
Mhm.
Okay, I have done this power sheets exercise a lot, so I can, like, name some things, but if you can't and you're listening to this, don't be, feeling bad about yourself because 'cause I've done power sheets for, like, 7 years, so I love to listen to music. I've actually
Yeah.
started listening to music when I first wake up in the morning. I get it set up at night, so I just roll over and I turn on my hymns when I first wake up. Um, I love to read, so I have recently started building an intentional time during my day to read, so I'll take 5 minutes. After a task, take 5 minutes, read for 5 minutes, something that's uplifting, and then I go back to my day. It just resets my mind. I love to drink hot tea. Um,
Mm.
I don't know, just little things like that. I love art, so I love to even look at art. Um, yeah, what do you do? Curious.
Well, I wanna ask you something. Do you I feel this, but I wanna ask your opinion. Do you feel like people struggle with this because those things can seem almost frivolous?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Why is that?
I just think so I think did I tell you last week about Eve in Exile? Did I tell you about this book last week? I think I
Yeah.
did.
Uh-huh.
This book, at first, I was not on board with it because it's about women and, like, it's just kinda like I'm not a feminist, but I also appreciate, like, the freedoms that women have
Yeah.
today, like, I don't wanna go back to, like, back in the old days.
Oppression. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 no. But I've gotten to the point where she talks about how, like, women are just hardwired to be productive, to produce, like, to produce. We
Yeah.
produce, like, children, we produce, home like, we're supposed to be homemakers, we're kinda designed to be nurturers, we produce feelings in people, that's what nurturing is. It's producing feelings in someone else and caring for their needs. Um, I think it's just kinda sometimes we can, like, be misguided in that because
Mm.
it's very hard to it's very hard. People are just hard to work
Yeah.
to deal with sometimes. They can hurt us or make us feel unappreciated or whatever. So we turn our like God-given design of nurturing and producing good fruits in others into things that are unfulfilling. And we feel like we're supposed to. We feel like we're supposed to strive hard and get followers on
Mhm.
Instagram or like make all this money, or we feel like we're supposed to be career driven, or we feel like we're supposed to, because we have an innate desire. It's just like put in the wrong place.
Mm,
And I think that we feel like if we're not striving, actually the book talks about this. If we're not striving, then we're not like going with the way that we were made because we have a really hard time seeing how things add up. Which I think that's
mhm.
really true for like for people in general, but we have a hard time seeing like if I do this every single day, eventually it will get me to this point. We have a hard
Yeah.
time seeing like if I take a 5-minute break every day to read a devotional, uh, in a week, I might feel better. Or like over time,
Mhm,
these small breaks will add up. So I think it has something to do with A, how we're made, and B, I just think we live in a society that doesn't value stillness, maybe. I don't know. Why do
mhm.
you think we have such a hard time with slowing down?
I think it's that. It doesn't feel productive per se,
Mhm,
and then we feel guilty for not being productive because
mhm,
maybe something else doesn't get done.
mhm,
But those things are so good, and I find that I'm a better friend, a better employee, a better mom, a better wife
mhm.
when I'm stealing away in those moments to do something that brings me joy, makes me excited, replenishes me almost, you know? Um, and I don't know, and maybe for me there's a sense of guilt of like it's not the right thing that brings me joy.
Oh, yeah,
Ever felt
interesting.
that? Like
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
like I don't know, like let me think. So maybe listening to a I think we talked about this a few episodes ago, but like listening to a musical, like a Broadway number
Yeah,
would bring me a little bit of joy. I could add that into my day, but like is that the right kind of music to listen to or the right thing that I should be spending my time on? When really we should be evaluating, is this going to make me appreciate this moment anymore
Tori,
more than I am
Tori.
currently?
Okay, yes. I gotta piggyback off that because when you talked to me about Broadway music, I was thinking to myself, I love Broadway
Yeah.
music, and I've always wanted to be in like a theater production,
Yes.
but I am like too weird. Like I'm afraid to like go to the theater and be like, I don't have any experience. I want to be a part of a production or a show. I don't know why. I think that's what you're saying. Like, is there anything that you feel like would bring you joy that you feel like shouldn't or that you wouldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you said that. I hadn't really ever been aware that I felt that way, but I think I have. I don't know. Maybe that's not what you're
Yeah.
saying.
No, it is, like, that you're just concerned that, like, why does this bring me joy instead of XYZ or, like, some I don't know.
I
I
mean,
feel like that
I felt
too
that
can
way
hold me
about
back.
like working out. Like I've really wondered like I should love working out, and I feel shame that I don't.
Do you wanna hear the trainer response or the
Tell me the trainer response.
I always used to tell my clients if they don't love working out, they haven't found the exercise that is for them because there's something for everyone. But I think we force ourselves into a box of like, I need to do strength training these days and running these days or
Mhm.
like cardio these days. But really, there's so many forms of exercise like climbing, swimming, biking, walking,
Yeah.
dancing,
Yeah.
and skating. Maybe you like to ice skate. I don't know. But I think I'm just saying I think I in most people, they don't like exercising because they haven't found the right thing.
That's super interesting. Yeah, maybe that might be true. Um,
Anyway, off
yeah,
topic,
no,
but
I love that though. It's really good. I think that might be true. I think that's really important. I think this goes back to kind of our talk about metacognition too, about how
mhm.
being present is often a product of our thinking. Uh-oh, I lost you. Okay, Alyssa, while she's coming back, her internet in the office sometimes is spotty. You're an Enneagram 4. Tori is not an Enneagram 4, I can tell you that. She's gonna laugh when she gets back. I'm surprised to hear that you're an Enneagram 4, Alyssa. I was gonna say you're maybe like a
Can you
7
hear
or
me?
8. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you
Could
see my video?
I can't see you, but could you hear what I was saying to Alyssa?
Yes.
I thought you were gonna laugh when you get back. She thinks you're a 4, which is so sweet. I
That
can
is
see it though,
sweet.
based off the feelings.
Why won't this fix? I don't know. Hey, we're about to wrap anyway.
We are
No,
wrapping up soon, yeah. But Tori, let's run through like how to savor every. Let's like run through everything we talked about really quick, like
okay,
all the 4 things.
let's do it.
Do you want me to talk about it since I can since I have my camera?
Yes.
It's a podcast. Oh, there you are. Hooray!
Yay.
It's a
Okay.
podcast. It's okay if they can't see your face.
Yeah.
So the 4 things you can run through it. There are
Uh,
4 things you can do. Yeah.
to savor moments or
Yeah.
to okay, sorry, I'm back I'm tracking with you. My phone started ringing and I tried to decline it really fast, but then it
Oh,
messed everything up. Uh,
I didn't
okay,
know that.
so 4 tips that we can give you guys to really savor your everyday moments, are to think big picture, like, think about what's really gonna matter at the end of your life. We talk about this a lot at Cultivate, about when you are 80 and you look back, what's really going to have mattered to you, and those are the things that you wanna spend your time focusing on. The second thing is to express gratitude. Gratitude regrounds us in, just being thankful for what we have and where we are. The third thing is to do things that you enjoy and just allow yourself to enjoy them. And that's okay. That's actually really, really good. And then the fourth thing is to remember that life happens in the in between moments. It's not always at the end or at the finish line or when you accomplish something. Almost everything good happens on the way there. So don't forget that.
I love that. Amen. Amen. Next week, we're talking about this in greater detail. We're talking about living out your legacy right now. How do you do
Mm.
that? How do you know for sure? Speaking of the power of presence, how do you know for sure that these days are adding up to that 80-year-old version of yourself that looks back over a life and is pleased? So we're going to talk about that next week. I'm super excited about it. Before we go, though, Lissa, thanks for an Enneagram 4. Will you reveal what you are to us?
Yes, guys, I am an Enneagram 2 to the core. My entire day is spent thinking about how I made other people feel.
I know. I thought I was a 2 until I met you, and then I was like, "No, I don't think about that."
Okay,
I'm I'm
have you seen the video of New Girl where Schmidt is like, "Do you just sit around and think about other people's feelings all day?" And she's like, "Yeah, don't you?" And he says, "No, how do you get anything done?" And she says, "I don't know, it's really hard."
No, I haven't, but that's so
That's me.
wow, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. So Lissa's a 4. I'm very surprised to hear that you're a 4, Lissa. I love to learn about people's Enneagrams. Tori, I think that is sweet that you're a 2. That's one thing I really like about you. I think 2s are extremely loyal, and you're extremely considerate about people's feelings and about moods and temperaments and that kind of thing, which is very, very, very rare. I think 2s get a bad rap. I think sometimes people think 2s are like too big of a feeler, but I like 2s because I like that you have that 8 in you sometimes. It comes out when
get a little
you're
fiery.
what?
I said I can get a little fiery.
Which is good. And then what else is a 2 in stress? A 2 is an 8 in stress and a
She's an
4
8 in
in
stress.
health. So yeah, that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that is yeah, that's good. You see the beauty in
Yay! You
things.
say I'm healthy, Lissa. Thank you.
You are, Tori. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm still on my Enneagram journey. I don't have mine figured out yet, but I'm working
Enneagram,
on
I
it.
feel like, is a constant, like everybody says you want to take a quiz or something. But what I've learned about it, we actually read a book about it. I can't remember what it was, but it was specifically about Enneagram in marriage and how, like, really finding out your Enneagram is reading about them and thinking about what your motives
Okay.
are. And your motives are what reveal what Enneagram you are. And your motives have to do with how God designed you, like what
Mhm.
gifts He gave you, what awarenesses He gave you. And then you think about your motives and why you do the things that you do. And that helps you define which number you are.
I have a fear that my Enneagram is one that I don't like.
No, they're all great.
Uh,
They are.
some are perceived less great than others.
That's because they're perceived wrong.
Okay, my 2 friend. I have a very scary feeling that I might be an 8. And I
Eights
think
are
that's what
great.
sometimes, but I think I get mistyped sometimes because I can like I don't know. I don't know.
Eights, what I love about eights, and I could see this because I see this quality in you, eights love their people and they will fight for their
Oh yeah.
people.
That's me.
Like they will go to bat for their
Yeah.
people and they have like this sense of justice about making sure that people are
Mhm.
taken care of and that like I love eights. My dad is an eight.
My mom
So
is an 8. But I would not necessarily say she's like a healthy 8. Her sense of justice becomes like it can just like kind of overtake her sometimes, you know. But yeah, I have a
Yeah.
very if there's any 8s listening, I'm so sorry. I could be one of you. I don't know. But it is I have a strong sense of justice like drives my decision making.
Yeah.
Like I have a strong sense of justice. But like you said, if someone is like in with me, then I will like die for
Those are
them.
your people. Yeah.
For yes, in every sense of the word. Um, but it causes problems because if well, we won't go into Enneagram on this episode, but
I know.
maybe
We are
this summer.
not Enneagram professionals.
No, I'm
We
gonna go
just think
do
it's
some more
interesting.
research before I type myself again.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tori, this is a really fun chat, and I'm really glad we talked about how to savor everyday moments. It brought me a lot of encouragement. Also, just like I know this, but talking to you about it re-solidified my my desire to really like find times in my day when I'm not present, when I'm just on autopilot. Because I've worked on this, but I think I still have some more work to do. So thank you for chatting with me today about it. It's super interesting.
Thanks. And it's always
Uh,
such a pleasure. And thanks for chatting with us in the comments, guys. It was so
it was
fun.
super fun. I'm gonna go look at attachment style too. I think that's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some more research on that. I feel like that was something that came up a lot when we did conscious discipline and with foster care. When we were doing our training for foster care, was attachment style. So I'm gonna have to do some more research on that because I definitely don't know enough yet.
Oh wait, Katie's an 8. Wait, hold on. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to like cut you off. I was reading the comments.
No, okay, so she said it's weird for a Southern Christian woman, but let me say, I think it's not. So, one of my favorite examples of an 8 is our associate pastor from our last church. He's actually a full-time missionary, and he was just like he just had such a care for people and for doing what was right and like making the right choices. And I don't know, he you just always knew that he had you, like, he had your back, and he would take care of what needed to be taken care of, and I think that's a really, really great quality.
Oh my gosh, Lissa. I mean, Tori, I was sorry I wasn't listening. There were so many spammers in the comments that I didn't even see. I'm so sorry, you guys. All I could see was Lissa's. I'm an Enneagram 4. Um, sorry, Lissa. I did not see. Uh, there were so many bad things that people were saying. I'm so sorry. And I didn't see all the new comments coming through. I did actually get them all blocked this time, I think. Um,
Yay!
Katie is taking her mom's hip hop class in her daughter's studio. It's such a fun workout. I'm so sorry I didn't see the comments. Katie, you are an 8. Now I see it. Okay. Got it.
Yay.
Now there's a friend with a podcast.
I know, I'm gonna check that out. Lisa, will you send that to us, the podcast, so we can check it out?
Yeah, you can send it to us on Instagram or wherever. I'm sorry about the spammers. That's really inappropriate. They always get us for some reason. Um, yeah, Katie, they definitely do. Can you assign a moderator? Maybe I can. I'll research that. Um, I will check that out. We're better on Instagram Live. We kind of got that worked out. We're still working out the kinks on YouTube Live, but I like YouTube Live because I feel like it's a little bit more intimate. On Instagram, it's like
Yes.
the comments are like I don't know. It's just like so different. Tori,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. You were talking about your dad being an 8. I think is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, it's okay. We were
I'm
just
so sorry. I was reading these
chatting.
inappropriate
This is like
comments.
the I feel like this is like the end of, like in the movies where the credits roll and then there's all the extras. I feel like that's where we're at on this episode.
Yeah, we're at the extras, you guys. I am interested in this whole 8 concept though, Katie, because oh, cool. That's interesting to know. I will
Oh,
look into that. I didn't realize we could have moderators. That's so awesome. Yeah. So I am interested in this whole 8 thing, Katie, because I do think you're right that people are like that doesn't exist. Like, how can you be sweet and kind and sensitive, but also have like a lion inside of you? And I was thinking about this because I read that C.S. Lewis was an 8.
that makes
Ev-
so much
right?
sense.
Yeah. So everybody typed him as a 5 because he was like, more spammers. So he was. I do need a moderator. I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna figure it out. We do need a moderator. So, um, Yeah, so somebody that read, like, something his wife wrote or something was like, "No way, like, no way is C.S. Lewis a 5." He was introspective, but he was, like they called, like he literally yeah, I don't know. You gotta read the biography called Not a Tame Lion by, I don't know who wrote it, hold on. I got it right here. I can tell you right here. This book. These are the ending credit story. We've really gone long today. It's by Terry Glassby. It's called Not a Tame Lion. It's a biography about C.S. Lewis's life that has things in it that haven't like he uncovered somewhere in Oxford or something. I don't know. It's about C.S. Lewis's blistering personality and how he was an 8 on the Enneagram. So he was very kind and thoughtful and introspective, but had a strong sense of justice. I don't know,
I love
Katie.
that.
We're gonna have to like hook up about this later.
Let's
um,
connect. Enneagram coffee chat.
That would be fun. I would really like to dig into how different Enneagrams approach power sheets and goals.
Ooh.
I know we have a blog, one blog Emily wrote on Enneagrams and goals. It's a cute blog. It's on the blog, but I would love to really dig in and do some research on it. Lisa, you're right. 8s move to 5s in stress. Oh, she took it out, but I see it. You're right about that. So maybe he was just chronically stressed his whole life. Mm, Poor C.S. Lewis. Poor Clive. Okay, Tori, we really do have to hop. Everybody's probably
Yeah.
bored of listening to the credits roll. We'll see you guys next week, though. Living out, living out your
Bye,
legacy
guys.
right now.
Bye, Kelly.
We'll try to throw in some Enneagram talk too.
Yeah.
All right. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. See you next week.